It's difficult to be a Jedi Master and live free of regret. According to the Jedi way, one is to remain mindful of the present, not swayed by things that have been or will be. But that doesn't stop even the best of Jedi by being haunted from their mistakes. This includes Mace Windu, who, throughout the entirety of the Clone Wars, carried around the burden of a great regret. The regret was not taking Dooku's life when he had the chance. Greetings again, lore junkies, and welcome back to the archives. Mace Windu was always a master who staunchly adhered to the Jedi way and its code. For most of his life, he preferred to think out all of his options when it came to his enemies, but after Geonosis, Mace Windu went from regularly offering mercy to one who was ready to crush his enemies without hesitation. And this came as a result of him feeling personally responsible for the Clone Wars as a whole, all because he could not pull the trigger on Count Dooku. So join us today, my friends, as we open a holocron to explore Mace Windu's deepest regret and how it ended up shaping his fate. The context of his regret comes from the Legends novel Shatterpoint, which stars Windu and his unique force ability of Shatterpoint. For those of you who need a refresher, Shatterpoint is a rare ability in perception that only a few Force sensitives have ever been capable of. It has a pretty long explanation, but in order to keep things simple, we'll explain it like this. If you were to view the universe in a timeline as a massive gem or a crystal, you would see lines and vertices, all of them connecting everything together. Shatterpoints are specific places where those lines intersect, creating either a point of weakness or a point of significance. Hence the name of the ability. If one were to apply the right amount of pressure to that point, the gem around it would completely break and shatter. What this means is that Windu is sometimes able to perceive these weaknesses in people, structures, places, and even in situations in time. This allows him to exploit those points to achieve victory or a desired outcome. But what's important to note is that the Shatterpoints can also be moments of significance. When this occurs, it informs Windu that the object of the will have a significant impact on the future. We're given all of this information as a way to explain why Mace Windu feels the way that he does about Dooku. In the novel Shatterpoint, we get this insight into the Jedi Master's mind and subconscious. In my dreams, the purple flare of my blade sizzles the gray hairs of Dooku's beard, and in the critical semi-second that it takes Jango Fett to aim and fire, I twitch that blade and take Dooku with me into death. I save the galaxy from civil war. I could have done it. I should have done it, because I knew. I could feel it. In the swirl of the Force around me, I could feel the connections Dooku had forged among Jango and the Trade Federation, the Geonosians, the whole Separatist movement, connections of greed and of fear, of deception, and bowed intimidation. I did not know what they were. I did not know who or how Dooku had forged them, or why, but I felt their power. The power of what I know now is a web of treason he had woven to catch the galaxy. I could feel that without him to maintain its weave, to repair its flaws, and double its thinning strands, that the web would rot, that it would shred, and scatter its strings into the infinite stellar winds. Dooku was the Shatterpoint. I knew it. This was my gift. Situations have Shatterpoints, like gems, but those of situations are fluid, ephemeral, appearing for a bare instant, vanishing again to leave no trace of their existence. They are always a function of timing. There is no such thing as a second chance. If when I next encounter Dooku he will be the war's Shatterpoint no longer, I can't stop this war with a single death. But on that day, in the Geonosian arena, I could have. This is a pretty chilling passage when we consider how usually collected Mace Windu is. Although we associate him with ruthless action now, he was not the one to simply take someone's life for the convenience of it. When Windu was a young man, he had discovered an inner darkness that resided deep in his soul, an anger that he could not rid himself of. But rather than let it consume him, Windu chose to use that weakness as a strength. This was how he developed Vapad as a lightsaber form. He could pass through the penumbra of the dark side, allowing the thrill of the fight to drive his actions. This would allow him to take in an enemy's darkness and then fountain it back out upon them. By turning their inner darkness into a weapon of the light, Windu found the perfect form to combat evil. As a champion of the weak, Windu became a powerful force for good. He had officially conquered this anger and made it a servant of his life as a Jedi Master. And because of this, he always held himself back in combat. Using his lightsaber form was walking a careful tightrope where he had to be in total control at all times. Due to this, restraint was the name of the game, and Mace Windu avoided striking down the final blow at all costs. Even one action taken out of emotion could cause Vapad to control him rather than the other way around. Even when the Jedi Master Sora Bulk embraced the dark side, then swayed other members of the Jedi Order, corrupted the form of Vapad, and killed Jedi Master Oppo Rancisis, Mace Windu still held back. He didn't want to hurt his lifetime friend and colleague, and despite sensing the dark side deep within him, eventually he did what had to be done, even if Mace Windu despised it. Make no mistake, this hesitation was not one born from fear, but of hope and of compassion. Mace wanted to defeat his enemies by showing them the error of their ways, hence the idea of reflecting their own darkness back at them. Windu didn't want to be an executioner, even if both his skills in Shatterpoint and Vapad gave him the qualifications to be one. A perfect blade held at the throat of the dark side. But Windu cherished that hope, the hope that if someone were to confront their sins head on, that they could be rehabilitated. This was the same hope that he carried on Geonosis, because for all of the events of Attack of the Clones, Windu was always Dooku's biggest supporter. He refused to believe that the Count was responsible for the assassination attempt on Padme Amidala's life, despite the fact that he was speaking out against the Republic. He was seen as a political idealist, not a violent man at all. In Windu's mind, he knew Dooku as the Padawan of the great Jedi Master Yoda. Dooku was a master that Windu looked up to his entire life. He was a role model, a Jedi with a sense of justice and a hunger for truth that gave him a fiery personality. Of course, he couldn't accept that Dooku had turned to the dark side, or that he had been the one to engineer the war, at least not until he saw it with his own eyes. On Geonosis, Windu arrived with 200 Jedi as an arresting committee to shut down the arena execution. He was on a rescue mission for Anakin, Obi-Wan, and the Senator. But once Windu arrived and saw for himself the allegiances that Dooku had made with the Separatists and the bounty hunter sent to kill Amidala, Windu saw it both with his physical eyes and deep within the eyes of Shatterpoint. As the passage described, Windu could literally perceive all of the ties that Dooku had forged to make this party happen. And yet, there remained that small piece of denial in Mace's heart. The denial that his role model and friend was capable of such evil, such darkness. Mace suppressed himself with that approach, but rather than strike down Dooku when he had the chance, he put his saber to Jango's throat instead. He tried to talk Dooku down, to arrest him correctly. Obviously, this was the Jedi way. But in the Force, Mace had perceived that Dooku himself was a Shatterpoint. He was literally the single Shatterpoint to end the Clone Wars then and there. Everything could have been prevented had Windu simply flicked his blade. He had even prepared to die for it. He knew that he was not fast enough to kill Dooku and then defend against Jango. Jango was too precise a shot. But had he listened to his instincts, his death would have been worth it, and the galaxy would have been saved. As an aside, we're saying all of this from Windu's perspective, of course. Without us actually following a separate timeline, there's no way of knowing that Windu's actions could have prevented Anakin's fall and his embrace as Darth Vader. But it would have delayed it, if not outright canceled the Clone Wars. But Windu couldn't do it. He couldn't kill this man despite how he saw the Force. And now, several years after this moment, the Shatterpoint that he had sensed that day from Dooku was gone. He was no longer the fulcrum of the war. The war had begun, and no single death could ever stop it. In our opinion, not even Sidious's death would have stopped the war once it started. Perhaps his control over everything would have ended, but the war itself would have continued, just more legitimately. But as the war progressed, Mace Windu would watch the Republic burn. His friends and colleagues would either fall to the dark side or continually die. His own Padawan, Depa Billaba, would attempt to kill him. She stabbed him straight through the gut and attacked him with savage fury. And when Windu triumphed over her, she was put into a coma from which she would never awake. Each and every one of his Jedi friends were suffering, and the people of the Republic were terrified. This impacted Mace Windu the most. According to the novel For Revenge of the Sith, Mace Windu's care for the Republic went far deeper than many realize. This is what the novel famously says. Because Mace too has an attachment, Mace Windu has a secret love. Mace Windu loves the Republic. Many of his students quote him to students of their own. Jedi do not fight for peace. That's only a slogan, and it is misleading as slogans always are. The Jedi fight for civilization, because only civilization creates peace. For Mace Windu, for all of his life, for all of the lives of 1,000 years of Jedi before him, true civilization has only one true name, the Republic. He has given his life in service of his love. He has taken lives in its service, and lost the lives of innocents. He has seen beings that he cares for maimed and killed, and sometimes worse. sometimes so broken by the horrors of the struggle that their only answer was to commit horrors greater still. This was the deep emotion that Windu felt for the Republic, and the impact that the Clone Wars had on it and on him. And so you can be assured that he was haunted, even tormented, day and night over that one moment, that single instant and Shatterpoint in the Geonosian arena, where Dooku became the key to it all. The moment of denial, a moment of hesitation, the moment where he showed mercy where he should have acted. The Shatterpoints had told him, and he held back. And now it would remain the greatest regret for the rest of his life. Later in the Clone Wars, we find Mace Windu becoming far more radicalized, more willing to take action even if it leads to a drastic result. When they were on the hunt for Sidious, they tracked him to potentially being a part of Palpatine's own inner circle. Windu was ready to forcefully remove the Chancellor from office then and there, to have the Jedi take control of the Senate. He was ready to literally stage a coup that Palpatine later would accuse him of. And when it was discovered that Palpatine was a Sith Lord, Windu wasted absolutely no time in assembling a strike team. Then came the moment when he had Palpatine at the end of his blade. At first, he was going to arrest him, but then he saw the connection that Palpatine had forged with Anakin, yet another Shatterpoint. He would not make the same mistake he made at Geonosis, and so he retracted his statement of arrest. He even put the Jedi Code on hold because the very fate of the galaxy was at stake. And so Windu raised his blade to strike. The regrets the Jedi Master had from Geonosis would end up changing him forever, shaping the very destiny of the galaxy. In our opinion, it's too harsh to say that the Clone Wars were entirely Windu's fault. Dooku had not revealed himself as a Sith Lord in that arena yet, and there was no need to strike down a former Jedi. Windu had a very logical reason to resist the Shatterpoint, even if he maybe shouldn't have. This would be the burden that Mace Windu would carry with him for the entire war. It changed him, and the Jedi that he should have been. Ultimately, it informs us as Star Wars lore lovers why he acted so hastily against Darth Sidious. In Windu's mind, it all connected back to Geonosis, and the Jedi Master refused to make the same mistake twice. I think it adds a lot to Windu's character, adding a lot of the regret and the fact that he literally blames the entirety of the war for his one action, or inaction that day. It makes him much more complex, and informs the scene in Revenge of the Sith where he goes to strike down Palpatine much more clearly. But as always, friends and lore junkies, what are your thoughts on this, and Mace Windu as a character, and as a Jedi overall? Did Geonosis change him forever? But perhaps even more interestingly, what do you think would have happened to the galaxy at large had Dooku been struck down that day? If he really was the key to the entirety of the Clone Wars, what would have happened if that piece was removed from the board? As always, my friends, thank you so much for visiting the channel and the archives here today, and as always, may the Force be with you.